One day, a younger student named Hannah approached her in the art room. She was small and timid, with tear-stained cheeks. "People push me around," Hannah whispered. "Can you teach me what you did?" Liana looked at her. For a moment, she saw herself, the scared girl she once was. She nodded. They began training together after school in the old dojo. One by one, more students joined. Liana started a self-defense club, open to anyone, especially the ones who felt invisible, unheard, or weak. She never sought revenge. She never hurt anyone beyond what was necessary. She only used her skills to protect, to empower, to give others what she had once lacked, courage. Liana's story became something more than a viral moment. It became a movement. The quiet girl with the judo grip showed everyone that true strength doesn't roar. Sometimes, it whispers, waits, and stands back up when the world tries to push it down. Her past never vanished. She still missed her parents. Still had moments of grief. But she turned that pain into power, and used it to light a path for others to walk on. Message of the story. You don't have to be loud to be strong. You don't have to fight to be brave. And even the quietest people can leave the loudest impact, when they stand up, not just for themselves, but for those who can't. That's what real strength is. That's what Liana became. And that's why the girl who once walked through school like a shadow became someone no one would ever overlook again. Everyone at school thought Liana was just a shadow. She never spoke unless called upon, never looked anyone in the eye, and always sat in the back row, close to the window, sketching quietly in her notebook. Most students barely remembered she was there. But that changed the day 3 bullies cornered her in the hallway, and reached for her collar. That was the day they learned silence isn't weakness. That was the day the quiet girl's hands spoke louder than their threats ever could. Liana was only 15. Small, slender, and soft-spoken. She lived with her grandmother in a modest apartment near the train tracks after her parents passed away in a car crash 2 years ago. The grief changed her. The once smiling, curious girl became distant, wrapped in silence and sorrow. The only place she found peace was in her late father's dojo, where she trained in judo every evening after school. Her father used to say, "Strength isn't about hurting others. It's about protecting what matters." Those words stayed with her like a shield. But school was never easy. Being quiet made her a target. People didn't understand her silence. They called her names. Whispered. Laughed. Took her books. Drew on her desk. She ignored them all, until one afternoon, things went too far. It was the last class of the day, and the hallway was almost empty. Liana had forgotten her sketchbook and returned to class to grab it. As she turned to leave, she heard footsteps behind her, quick, deliberate. "Hey, ghost girl," sneered Amber, the ringleader. Tall, loud, and always hungry for attention, Amber thrived on fear. Behind her stood Zoe and Mia, laughing cruelly. Liana kept walking, heart pounding, eyes forward. "Where do you think you're going?" Amber barked. "We're talking to you." Liana didn't respond. Her fingers clutched the edge of her sketchbook tighter. In a flash, Amber's hand shot out and grabbed Liana's collar, yanking her back. "I said, answer me, freak." What happened next was instinct. A blur of motion. Years of training awakened like fire in her veins. Liana turned, stepped into Amber's space, and grabbed her wrist with a sudden precision. Her body moved on its own, fluid, exact. She twisted Amber's arm, flipped it backward with a Kotegeshi wristlock, and in one clean motion, brought her to her knees. Amber's eyes widened in disbelief, her scream echoing down the hallway. Zoe lunged at Liana, who sidestepped and used her opponent's momentum to redirect her. Another wrist lock. Another cry of pain. Mia froze in horror. In under 10 seconds, 2 bullies were on the ground, clutching their wrists in shock and agony. Liana stood tall. Her face wasn't angry, it was calm. Controlled. Focused. "Don't touch me again," she said quietly, the first words she'd spoken to them all year. Mia helped Amber and Zoe scramble away. Their pride was shattered, their whispers silenced. They didn't return to school for a week. When they did, they avoided Liana completely. boo.